Welcome
Thank you very much. Yes,
for coming here to our podcast. It's a pleasure having you here
it's a
today.
pleasure being here.
Following our conversation, we're very inspired by your story and your journey in following into your entrepreneurship and how you're helping people based also on your passion. So we're really pleased to have you on our podcast today. And maybe for our listeners to get a little bit of an insight on what you're all about, would you be willing to share a little bit about your background and your journey to where you are now?
Of course, and yeah, thank you for the invite. So it's a pleasure to be here. So I'm Bains, and currently I'm the founder of Decoded Reality. I'll talk a little bit more about that. In terms of my background, so I've been in telco, which is mobile telecoms, for over 20 something years. I don't say the exact number because I'll give away my age, which I don't want to do. But I started off as a graduate engineer, and then I worked my way up, ended up in leadership roles. I'm really happy to say that I'm so happy with what I did with my career, the people I work with, the environment, workplace, everything. I feel really, really blessed. So I have loads of gratitude for that. As well as working, it was a lot of the skills I picked up, technical, some of the soft skills. And I found my passion wasn't always, I thought it was fixing stuff. So being responsible for mobile networks, I was responsible for the IT and technology across 700 retail stores. And it was always, I love fixing stuff, I love fixing stuff. But then when I started doing a bit more of a deep dive, is what do I really love? And it was working with the people. It was developing people, bringing people into the team, working with them, really seeing them develop, seeing them excel, and that's what gave me the greatest joy. So as I went through my career, every role I had to have some sort of it needed to have an aspect where I could work with people and just help them develop. So that was sort of beginning of my journey here, just helping people. And then alongside the traditional workspace, I've been into fitness all my life. So I've been in fitness since I was 15. So weight training, martial arts, boxing, all that sort of great stuff. And also nutrition. So nutrition is a massive part of that as well. So throughout my whole life, I've always been helping people with getting on their fitness journey, giving them support on nutrition, training plans, and all that sort of great stuff. So I found, in a way, in my life, I've always been coaching like that. Just before COVID, I decided I needed to do something else alongside just working. I wanted to give something back. So I decided to volunteer for the Samaritans. And that was probably a game changer for me. Initially, I sort of knew about the Samaritans. I thought, okay, these guys are there and they're helping people who are really, really struggling, suicidal. They're the heroes that go in, fix all the problems, and they walk away and they're absolutely fine with it. And that was my problem solving, my operations, fix stuff, and everything's going to be okay. The first meeting we had, we got to know what Samaritans was. And that was a massive shock for me. And it was about offering emotional support, being there for the caller, being there for the person, you're listening to them. And in their words, you're in the hole with them, you're connecting with them. And then slowly, they open up to you and you offer them that emotional support. So for me, it was, okay, this is not fixing anything. You're just talking to people. But as we went on the training courses, we got to know about what Samaritans was. It was really, really clear. It was just eye-opening in terms of how that emotional support, just being there, just listening to people, not judging people. You're trying to really trying to get into their shoes and be with them. And that was the most important thing, which is completely different from my just fix everything background. That was quite an interesting concept for me. But the point that really, really hit home for me in terms of my whole journey was at the end of, I think it's like 10 sessions. So before they let you onto the calls, you have a role play session with a Samaritan, and you go through a script. The Samaritan, the trainer, would go through. They would pretend to be a caller, and then you would use all your training that you've had in the previous 10 weeks. And I must say, it's probably the best training I've ever had in my life. Amazing training, really, really eye-opening. Some aspects just, okay, wow, that's a really good insight. I could use that in my day-to-day role. So we did it was like a 10-minute role play, and came to the feedback, and I thought I smashed it. It's like, yeah, this is good. And the feedback was, yeah, you've done really well, really, really well. Gov, you sounded a bit corporate. And that's the thing you need to focus on. Now, I've got tattoos, I've got a shaved head and everything. So I always like to think I'm a little bit different. So when I'm at work, everyone's in their suits and I'm not. So I like to be, I'm different. I'm not corporate. And that was a bit of a stake through the heart. I was like, oh my God, how can that be? And I said, are you sure? She said, yeah, God, don't worry about it. It's just because you've been in that environment for so long, you just pick up those traits and you don't realize it. And it just becomes part and parcel of how you speak, how you act. So that comment really stuck with me because it was along the lines of, okay, so I've been in this environment for 20 years and I've started picking up things. And for example, when you're at work, you're circling back, doing helicopter views, blue sky thinking and stuff. And even how you speak to people, I'll probably doing it now because I'm in front of a camera. I've probably got a bit of a corporate front. So it takes a while to sort of get rid of that. But it just got me thinking just about the impact the environment has around you. And it's not just work, it's then you look back at, okay, family, culture, society, these things they actually shape you.
Mm-hmm.
And then you get to a point where, well, especially for me, I started thinking to myself, what do I actually believe in? Who am I? I've got all this, I've got all these influences influence me, but what do I really, really feel? So that started my journey. I mean, a lot of people call it the sort of healing or, going back and looking back at yourself, just reflecting on loads of stuff and started digging deeper. And one of the things I found was just how important authenticity was, just in general life, in terms of, well, especially well-being.
Yeah.
So the more authentic you are, you're not really worried about what other people are thinking. You're not doing things for other people. You're doing things for yourself. And when you're in that state, you're not worried about things. You're not suffering anxiety. It's like, oh my God, if I do this, this person's going to think that. If I do this person might think that. You become your own person, and you're sort of cutting ties with these external influences around you. Going back, rewinding back to the coaching that I've done, the developing that I've done, the fulfilling feeling I had with working with the Samaritans. It's when I thought, this is what I want to do full time. But it took a while to really articulate what I was actually going to do. I mean, there's loads of coaches out there, and they've all got various ways of coaching people. They've got their own ideas. But I didn't just want to become another coach.
Mm-hmm.
It needed to have a specific idea. And mine was just about the whole thing around authenticity. And for me, that's really, really important. I want to go back and look at my life and see how I've evolved throughout the whole years. I can definitely, there's points in my life where things have happened and it's almost like you shed a layer, then you go through life and then you shed another layer and you just become more and more authentic. And then as you become more authentic, you just feel a lot happier. So that's where I ended up with founding Decoded Reality. And the whole meaning behind Decoded Reality is we're living in a world where one of our business coaches used to describe it as a hamster wheel. So he used that analogy in terms of business.
Mhm.
So we were in a leadership meeting and he was talking about how we moved the business forward. And he said the biggest challenge is you guys are leaders, but you're on this hamster wheel. You're just constantly putting out fires, constantly putting out fires. You need to take a step back, get out the hamster wheel, and you just take a strategic look at where you want to go forwards in business. But that's the situation we're in. I feel that's the situation we're in. We're living day to day. We've got to get the mortgage paid. We've got to take the kids to school. We've got to eat. We've got to do this. And we've got these programs in our heads from when we were younger, from our parents, from society, from culture. You need this. You need to look like this. And we've got all this stuff going through. And then you're getting to a point where sometimes you wake up in the morning and it's just not like I just don't feel me. It's because we're just constantly in this hamster wheel. And the whole point of the Decoded Reality is to sit down with people and start unpacking and start taking off those layers. So the first important thing is let's just stop. Let's just stop and start working through the actual layers you've got. So the reality you have at the moment is the reality of being in a hamster wheel, just going through this program, one, two, three, four, five, and just unpacking those programs and working out, okay, where are you now? Where do you want to be in the future? And start working out what their identity is, what their values are. And from that, you look at the programs, what programs work for you going forward, and what programs do we need to stop? And then that helps them become more authentic. And where's being more authentic, more self-esteem, more confidence, your physical well-being improves, mental well-being improves, better relationships. So once I saw this, I thought, "Oh, this is what I feel will help people." And I myself, I don't think I'm definitely not a finished product or anything, right? I have my own challenges, and again, with going back to the whole decoded reality program, is even though you've decoded everything and it's like, okay, I've removed all these layers, life is still going to be a challenge. So within the program, there's the decoded reality, which is finding people's authenticity, finding their purpose, finding all their values, and using that to drive their lives forward. And the second part to that is I've called it the bouncer for your life. One of my previous hats, I used to do the doors back in the day, right? And standing in front of a club, you're not coming in,
Yeah.
come in, that sort of stuff as well. So I use that analogy for our own lives, and it's about being the bouncer for your life. Once you know where you are in life in terms of your values, in terms of I know what gives me peace, I'm there at peace, then we need to become that bouncer. We need to be careful about what we let in. So the second part for that is the it's not just about letting things in, and it's a situation. I mean, at the moment. So the situation is, yep, you've got a front, you're letting certain things in. But again, even though you think you've removed certain programs, things will always come into your head. And it's not just about monitoring what's coming in, it's monitoring what's going on in your head. Coming into the podcast today, there's voices. What are you doing there? Why should they listen to you? It's that sort of thing. But it's being aware enough to like, okay, I've got that thought, and then this is what I need to do. I've got a routine that's gonna counteract that, and you get rid of those voices. So even though I've set up this program, it's my little project. It doesn't mean that I've made it and I've got all the answers. I'm still going through. I'm still learning. But with everything I've done in life, I'm just hoping I can help other people as well.
Because you have been coaching just generally on your own accord all these years,
Yeah,
right?
yes,
Also
yeah.
following the book that you've written,
Yes,
Smart
yes,
Track,
yes,
which
yeah,
all stems also from the discipline and your learnings through your whole fitness
yes.
journey, right? Could you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, so the book's a really interesting one because initially it was meant for my nephew. It was his 18th birthday, I think it was. Young lads, they want to get into training, they want to get big, they want to get strong. And he was always asking about what exercise do I do, what exercise do I do here, do there. And I said to him, it's not the exercise, it's the mindset. That's the most important thing. So I've been training since I was 15. I don't think I've had more than a week or two off because it's not a hobby for me. It's just part of my life. It's just like sleeping. It's waking up. It's eating. Training is a part of my life, and I know it gives me. It helps me with my physical well-being. It's helped me with my mental well-being. It's my anchor in life, and I think again it's really important that people have an anchor. It doesn't have to be training, it has to be something. I always like to give an analogy of we're ships in the ocean. Sometimes it's nice and calm, it's all good. Sometimes you get waves, sometimes you get storms. But if you have an anchor, that ship, it will rock backwards and forwards, but it's not going to break loose and just be all over the place. You need that anchor. And for me, training is that anchor. It gives me a lot of clarity and it gives me a lot of focus. So when I started writing this for my nephew, I thought it'd just be a couple of pages. This is what you need. This is the mentality you need. But then when you start writing, it's just like, yeah, but what about that bit? Oh, what about that bit? So then it just turned into, rather than just a book on this is how you train, it was more around the mindset you need to achieve goals. And that's what it turned into. So it's, again, a lot of it is about stopping. That's the most important thing. Stopping, getting out the hamster wheel, stopping, reflecting. And again, if you want to take a fitness journey, why are you taking that fitness journey?
Yeah.
What's the motivations behind it? And it's not just fitness, it's anything we're doing. It's first ask the question why, and then the book sort of outlines it's a bit of a blueprint as to how you get there. But at the end of every section, it's not, again, I don't have the answers, because what I've done in my life is based on my needs, which is going to be completely different to other people's. My goals are going to be completely different to other people's goals. But the questions I've got at the end of every chapter, it's for that reader to be right. Okay, I've got these questions. Their answers will be different to the other person reading it, but from that they'll create their own path to a routine, to a journey that they can achieve. So again, the whole Mind Trek book, again, a lot of it leads into Decoded Reality as well. It's very, very similar, because the vast majority of this is mindset and is perception. And there's a really good picture out there. It's a number six, and you've got one person standing on one side of the six and another person standing on the other side of the six. One person sees a six and the other person sees a nine, but it's a number in the middle, right? And I always see that in life as well. So I've always tried to look at positive side of things. So in anything that happens, we've all had traumas, tragedies, and stuff in our lives, and rather than just it's really, really bad, it's always like, where's the lesson in this? So it's little things like that. I just want to sort of, especially with the younger generation, where there's, I think it's a lot harder for them. When we were growing up, we just had TV, we had radio, we had magazines. If you were at school, you had influences at school. When you came home, it was just home. Now everything's just mangled into one, and it's just constant. And some of the stuff you see on these platforms, it doesn't help, especially with things like authenticity. It does not help. Someone's got a brand new shirt, a new trainers, a new way of training. This is how you need to look. This is how you need to act. It's really, really difficult for that generation. I think even for us, it's quite difficult, because you're just being bombarded all the time, consciously and subconsciously. And again, when it comes to what I was just rewinding back to the bouncer for your life, I have that myself. Even though I'm sat here, yet be authentic and it's going to really help you. I get to situations where I'm talking to certain people, and it triggers certain things in your head. Maybe I do need to change my car. Maybe I do need to get something bigger. But because I realize it, I then I can take that step back. Then how many of it, if I look back in the past, I'd be going down that spiral staircase, and I do need that car. Yeah, I do need to get a bigger car. I need to get this. I need to get that. So with the book, with what I'm doing with the coaching, it's not going to stop. It's not going to stop social media. It's not going to stop expectations, but it will give people the tools to deal with that. Where something kicks off, and bang, they know what it is. So one of the things I talk about, and we used to use it at work as well. If you can't measure it, you can't manage it. So from a work perspective, when we were looking after the mobile network, and we had loads of stats, we had loads of alarms, because we needed to monitor the network to make sure it worked okay. What we didn't want was 100,000 people picking up the phone saying my phone doesn't work. We needed to make sure that we were on it before the customers were. So you need to monitor it. If you can monitor it, if you can measure it, then you can manage it. Sometimes you might see something going from green to amber. Right, it's gone to amber. I need to fix it before it impacts the customers. And it's the same thing with us. We need that ourselves as well. We need to be measuring, understanding ourselves, understand having a baseline. I call it having a baseline. Get to a level where you understand, this is where I'm the happiest. I'm at peace. And when certain things come into your life and they disrupt your life, okay, that's not good for you. But you need to get there in the first place. And an example for that, I'll just use a personal example for myself, is my training is almost my measure. So usually when I'm in the gym, my mind is closed off, I'm focused, and I've always got targets that I want to push. If it's a good session, I know I'm in a good place. Sometimes if I'm struggling, something's not right, and I need to figure out what that is. Is it because I'm not sleeping? Is it because I'm not eating properly? Or is it something else? And it's figuring out what that is. And that was one of the reasons why I kicked off Decoded Reality when I did, because the last couple of months actually, I just wasn't feeling it. I was like, hey, something's not right. And it was the environment I was in at work. I'm not saying I'm not saying it was toxic and the people were bad and stuff. It was a great environment, but it just didn't align with who I was and my values. And then I was struggling with that. So I really had to take a step back because I knew from my training, I take notes every day. I know what I'm lifting, I know how many reps I got. Looking back, I could see everything was great, and now I'm starting to struggle. I had to take that step back, and it was like, okay, it's because of this. When I made that decision, I'm going to stop corporate life and start something on my own. I went back to normal again, and I was Superman again. So it's given people that tool where you know this is your baseline, this is your peace level, this is where I'm at, I'm at equilibrium, everything's good. But then if things come into your life and they throw you out of balance, you should be able to know, okay, it was that thing, and I need to manage it. So that's really important.
It's really interesting you say that. And actually, that leads me to kind of thinking have you observed a certain maybe trends in people from all walks of life, right? Because it applies to everyone actually finding what is not working. Why do I not feel aligned? A lot of people are struggling with that. And like what you mentioned before, there's such an overwhelm of information. And I could really relate myself actually to what you were saying, like, wow, when we were kids, yeah, it's true. Like I think we went to school, social media wasn't out there. It were concealed sort of environments. Whereas nowadays we're exposed to everything. And the generation piece that you mentioned is a very interesting one because I have a son. He's in secondary school, but the amount of things that are coming that he can't walk away from anything like what we could as kids, right? And I think that's so important, which I can imagine makes it actually really hard to be authentic.
Yeah, yeah.
And finding your authenticity is always a journey, I think, but being authentic takes a lot of courage.
It does. It does. Yes.
Right? What would you say is kind of the things in your program that will help people to have the courage to be authentic?
So yeah, just going back to the previous point around the new generation. I totally empathise with that. If you're struggling at school, you could always go home, and there was that cut-off point. And that cut-off point was 3:30.
Yeah.
And now with social media, if you're struggling at school, it's just going to continue. So yeah, I really do empathise with the kids nowadays. But going back to the point around courage, one of the most important things for me is we forget ourselves. And what I mean by that is we're always looking forward. And again, this is the world around us. It's the people we surround ourselves with. It's always what we don't have and what we do have. So this is where gratitude comes in. And for me, that plays a huge part in this. And again, it comes to that whole point of stopping and getting out the hamster wheel again and looking back at what we have. And I think it's one of the many things we can do. But for me, it's quite a simple thing that anyone can start doing right now. And again, gratitude is not just a list. It's not just a list of things you write down. I'm grateful for my health, my car, my house, my garden, all that sort of stuff. Gratitude is a feeling. Dr. Joe Dispenza, he's got a brilliant book called Being Supernatural. And he talks about the various energy states and sort of love. Gratitude is one of the highest. He called it an elevated emotion. But once you feel that, um, you feel empowered. You feel really, really empowered. When it comes back to courage, it's really having that faith in yourself. It's really looking back, celebrating the wins you've had, even if it's something really, really small. If it's a small win, you've gone to work and someone's tried to wind you up and you didn't rise to it. Right, go home and celebrate it. Just do something to mark that event. It's little things like that that we can all do. When I'm training, if I've done a personal best, I'll go and buy myself a cake, and I might write, well done, Gov. I'll do just do something like that because it's just celebrating something. So a little exercise everyone can do is just write a list of all the things, amazing things that we have in our lives. Whether it's family, could be health, work. Again, yeah, everything could be better. I drove in. I've got a nice Mercedes. I could have come in with a Rolls Royce and a chauffeur, right? And if I'm focusing on, but I don't have a Rolls Royce and a chauffeur, I'm never ever going to be happy. So it's just being grateful and just having that real emotion for gratitude towards the things you have, and have that as a regular exercise, and then celebrate all the great things in your life as well. And it doesn't have to be every week I must have something to celebrate. It could be something you've had 20 years ago. I did my latest blog, which is called Stop Outsourcing Your Happiness. And again, it was about how you, in a lot of organizations, you start outsourcing departments. So IT support, we're not going to do it in our company. We're going to give it to this company.
Yeah.
And then what happens is, and not all the time, but a lot of the time you sort of lose control. It's not as easy as just getting up, walking to the next desk and saying, Fred, can you just fix my PC? You now have to raise a ticket. You've got all this other rigmarole you have to go through. And it's the same with, it's the same as our happiness. We're outsourcing it to other people to designer bags, design clothes, all sorts of stuff, right? And the whole blog is about insourcing that happiness. And in that blog, I just go through the various things you could do to sort of insource your happiness. And again, it's stuff that's going to give you courage, you know, gratitude, creating a self-care routine. So when you wake up in the morning, rather than just jumping out of bed, just do a few things that will give you a sense of accomplishment. A lot of people are doing things like cold baths and stuff like that. You could go in, you can have a cold shower for a minute, but you've accomplished something. You know, you've something quite, so things like that. You start incorporate that into your life. You start feeling better. But just going back to the celebration a bit. So one of the things I talked about was, you know, celebrate wins. But again, it's not celebrating something. You don't have to just win every single time. You don't have the success. One of the examples I gave was 20 years ago. I had when I was a lot younger, I had a wrestling match with my cousin and my brother. It was like 2-on-1, and I won it. And it's only a joke anyway, but it gives me a nice warm feeling. So I'm going to celebrate it. I think I'm a champion, you know. And it can be the silliest little things, but if it gives you that, you know what, it puts a smile on your face, then go for it.
Yeah.
Absolutely go for it. And when you start adding those things up, celebrating the wins, gratitude, even you know, the self-care routines, keeping active, you know, doing something with your body, going out in nature, hugging trees. I mean, they've done quite a bit of research on that, and that really has a big impact on your mental health and physical health as well. So there's loads of things you can start incorporating into your day-to-day routine. It will really uplift you, and then give you courage to sort of, you know, have that, you know, be yourself.
Yeah.
Basically, yeah.
Yourself, which comes back obviously to the authenticity that you're all about. If you were to define, or actually not to define, what is authenticity truly to you in your own authenticity?
To me, it's all about your core. It's your core. For me, it's about closing my eyes. When I go to sleep at night time, it's about closing my eyes and feeling and being. I'm going to try and articulate this. I'll get there. Don't worry. So it's being by yourself and being happy by yourself. Again, it goes back to, it's like cutting off all the external influences around you. For me, it's me being by myself and being happy by myself. Of course, it doesn't mean me being alone now. It's having relationships and stuff, but having relationships on my own terms, with my own boundaries, and being comfortable with that. So that's the most important thing, is having my own values, being comfortable with myself, and then being comfortable with other people's with the boundaries that I have.
It makes a lot of sense.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay,
it
that's
does. I think you phrased that beautifully, and I can imagine for people, and myself included in that as well. When you're by yourself and you found your own authenticity, you know your core beliefs, your values,
Yeah, yeah,
learn to set boundaries.
yeah.
It's also a big one.
Yeah.
But then you go out in the world and you can be authentic with your friends, your family. You go into maybe, you know, your work, and you're there's a certain expectation from you, and it comes back to alignment, right? Do you
Yes,
align
yeah,
with
yeah,
those values
yeah,
as well? And again, it comes then back, I guess, to the courage to be authentic in all areas of your life you
yeah,
step into. It is friends, family, relationship,
yeah,
whether it is in your career, whether it is maybe in other sort of settings that you encounter, because there's often a social expectation, whichever environment you go to. And I think this is where it's so important. What you're doing is about cultivating being comfortable by remaining true to yourself.
100%, yeah, yeah. I mean, I like how you put that. Just sort of adding, just adding on top of that is just going back to what I was talking about around if you can measure it, then if you can measure it, you can manage it. Again, the whole thing around authenticity is exactly that. When you're in those situations with people, and I've done this a million times as well, so I can speak from experience, and you might do as well. When you're in certain situations, for example, I might be in a meeting for a couple of hours with people were just totally different to me. And I would have felt I need to talk like that, I need to act like that. You walk out of that meeting and you are drained, absolutely drained. And for me, that's when I know I'm not authentic, because I've had to speak a certain way. My mind has had to change, and I've had to really try to be something else that I'm not. And then you're just feeling drained. And you compare that with people that accept you for who you are, and you can be yourself. 2 hours with them, and you walk away. You're not feeling drained. You feel okay. I just feel good. I feel good. They respect me. I respect them, and everything's good. So I think just going back to that whole piece around authenticity, if that is one measure of it,
Yeah.
there and then, if I walk away from something and I do feel drained, then I'm just asking a question. Okay, good God, what happened there? What happened there?
Yeah.
Were you trying to not be yourself? Because again, regardless, we can sit here, we're sitting here talking about this stuff. It does not mean that I'm like a professor level expert. I still experience this stuff. I still get into situations and I have to tell myself, you know what, God, you're not being authentic. You might want to just relax a little bit and be yourself. But it's all about learning those flags, learning those triggers, and once you know them, then you can act upon them. And rather than being 2 hours in a meeting where you're totally not yourself, maybe you find yourself after 5 minutes you've noticed, and then you can do something about it as well. So yeah, it's all about managing those situations. And again, sometimes you will be in a situation where maybe it's not going to be appropriate to totally be yourself. But again, it's just about managing it. That's the most important thing is your own energy. And out of all this, I think that's the most important part, is just being as comfortable as you are in yourself, because that's going to help your physical well-being, and that will help your mental well-being as well. So it's just about protecting yourself. And sometimes, yeah, we are going to be into we are going to get into little situations. And you know what? A little bit of stress and a little bit of strife is going to be good for us. Stress is only, it will kill you in the long term. It's going to cause loads of problems in the long term. In the short term, if you get it and then you can manage it, you've got the tools to do so, then it's brilliant. You'll just get more resilient. But the whole part of the program, it's not to totally, it's not going to totally, yeah, you're now authentic. Walk away. You're now totally authentic. It's just going to give you the tools. It's going to give you a massive realization about yourself. This is what makes me happy. This is what sort of takes my energy away. But I've got the tools. If I'm in a situation, I can press certain tools, and it will help me ease out of that situation if need be.
Would you be willing to share with our listeners what you have found to be the most effective tool, maybe for yourself, but also what you've seen with people who are going through your program or you have been coaching? What is kind of a tool that kind of really helps people to stay true to themselves, to stay authentic, or when they are in situations whereby, okay, that didn't align with me. Like you said, you mentioned you can be someone you just feel drained. And there is a physical, energetic sense, almost sixth sense that you can pick up, right? That just didn't sort of, and vice versa as well. What would be kind of one really effective tool that you'd say that seems to really kind of hit home with people and help them get out of that?
I would say there's a few. I would say journaling is a huge one, because that really helps you sort of get to nitty gritty about. It helps you get into nitty gritty about what's happened in that day. Sometimes, if you've got stuff going on in your head, you start getting all sorts of tangents, and it starts taking you everywhere. So for me, journaling's a real strong one. Again, it's going back to that measure, manage. It's working with individuals, and it's the first thing is finding that core value. It's literally stepping out that hamster wheel. The first thing would be stop. That's the first thing, right? Just stop. But then as you're working through bringing out the values and understanding what their core beliefs are, the key thing is the journaling, using that, putting your thoughts down so you can just reflect on what's happened. And it was that point there, and this is what I should have done. So I think for me personally, I don't do journaling every single day, but when I feel like I'm going a little bit off track, I use it to pull me back in. because then I had my thoughts, and then I could go back and reflect, and it's more visual as well because it's there. So I would say journaling is a very good one.
I love journaling myself, I have to admit, particularly like you said, if you feel a bit off track. For me, the kind of how I experience it, and I love how you just phrased that as well. But to me, it's almost like I can download my brain, so it doesn't stay in my brain.
Yeah.
I can start making sense of the chaos in my head. And I love what you said, like, that was the bit. It almost becomes wisdom, what you write down. You start sort of identifying elements like, hang on, but this is actually where I'm stuck, or what actually caused that to pop in my head in the first place.
Yeah.
And it's almost, you naturally get your creative brain start, or mind, to work to sort of solutions in that. And I also find it's very, very effective.
Yeah.
Way.
And that's a really good point you made about the whole creative brain. For me, I just find it's a higher energy state. You feel a lot more when you're in that sort of creative mode. You just feel a lot more light, and as opposed to the sort of day to day. To get up in the morning, I've got to work. Then I've got this to do. Then I've got that to do. When you're in that sort of BAU sort of mode, hamster wheel mode, you're not going to pick out those little trigger points. You're not going to pick out those little bits. But when you do take that step back, and that's for me, that's what journaling is. You are taking that step back, using that creative energy, and then you can highlight those little bits. So
no,
definitely.
I'm very interested. So I know our listeners would also be very interested, Carl, because you went from corporate into entrepreneurship following your passion. From kind of a entrepreneurship perspective and making that transition, what would you say is how are you finding it? And for new entrepreneurs of our listeners that are there, what would you kind of advise them to maybe make that leap? Or
That's a great question. Very good question. For me, it goes back to authenticity.
Yeah.
So for this, I haven't called it a business. I call it my project. So that's the first thing, right? And the ethos behind it is to help people. And obviously I've got bits where I'm going to get paid for. That's fine. But I've also incorporated, I mentioned the Decoded Reality, the Bounce and Fear Life, and I also do one-to-one coaching. But I've also added in another service, which are called Phone a Friend, which is a free service. So if anyone's really struggling, rather than okay, make an appointment and here, exchange money and I'll help you, it's just like a one-off. Someone's really struggling, they could contact me and they can have a session and I could just talk about it. So even though this is, it's a business, I've always wanted to help people, and not everyone is going to be in that situation where it's like, okay, I've got 6 weeks and I can work with you for 6 weeks. Some people might be struggling. So I've incorporated that because it makes me feel a bit more fulfilled as well. So the whole package is about supporting people as much as they can.
If people want to do your program, want to find out more about you, Gov, where can they find you?
So many places, but if you want to go onto the website, it's www.decoded-reality.com. I'm on LinkedIn under Bains, and Instagram if you want to see me lift really, really heavy weights, Gov_Bains. And I think that's all I am. Yeah,
that's fantastic. Thank you so much, Gov. It's been a true delight and pleasure to have you on our podcast.